Hi friends, it's Brittany at Ink & Papyrus and welcome back to my channel. So I have to tell you, of my craft supplies, decorative printed napkins are some of my favorite. I love decoupaging things with them, making tags, incorporating them into page layouts. I'm sure you guys have all done the same. There is no lack of things that you can create with these. But I have to tell you, recently, I've been really disheartened at the price of these. Two napkins, you're looking at $1, $2 for a single napkin. If you want to buy an assortment of these, you're looking at $25, $50 investment. Who has the craft budget for that? So I've been on a mission to buy some blank white napkins. I think I got these for like $5 online. I bought a couple of different napkins to try out, and we're going to go through the best ways to print your own at home for just a fraction of the price. So for the purposes of this project, I bought two different kinds of napkins. I wasn't really sure what would work the best with the printer, and we'll talk about those considerations in a little bit. But I just want to show you, these are some really thick towels. I got these both off of Amazon. So this is Bloom & Goods dispensable linen-free guest towels. Little bit sturdier feel. I got 50 of these for $11.99. These are thinner Vanity Fair napkins, kind of like the more standard napkins you'd probably use day to day around the house. This is an 80 pack and I got this for $2.99. Of course, there will be additional costs for printing the napkins itself, but still, I'm telling you guys, this is totally the way to go if you're looking to find really, really, really pretty napkins to decoupage and not pay $1 million for them. And now I want to share with you some examples. And believe me when I say there have been hiccups along the way, but I will show you the best way to do this, and I'm going to show you a great way to run these napkins through so that your printer doesn't eat and choke on them, okay? These are some examples using the more sturdy guest towels. Pretty beautiful, right? Pretty beautiful. And guys, I promise you this is a very simple process. These images were all printables from the Graphics Fairy. You can use whatever digital images you would like. Some of these are just full collage pages, which work great for decoupage. Some of these are actual individual images themselves. As you see here, they're a bunch of images conglomerated on one page. So I actually will cut these out. You could rip, you can cut. These napkins are a little bit sturdier, and I think they will lend well to actually cutting around images if you want to do something like that and not use an entire image to collage. So see, these are the guest towels with individual images. Obviously this is a full collage page. And you'll see there's definitely some white space in here. I did the best that I could. It's not going to be a perfect, foolproof napkin unless you really, really, really know your settings very well. But it doesn't really matter because you're going to use these to decoupage. The feel is unbelievable. I was thinking about taking some of these and actually decoupaging them onto some heavier cardstock and even making a cover out of them. They're so gorgeous. There was very little bleeding, so we're going to talk about all of this, but I had to show you some examples to hopefully get you excited and convinced that you actually can do this too. When I tell you there are hiccups, I do mean there were hiccups, and we will talk about how to avoid some of these scenarios. These were the lighter Vanity Fair napkins that I showed you. These, again, a whole thing for like, I think I said $3. Okay. Again, not perfect, but perfect to decoupage with and perfect for our purposes. See? And I still, even these thinner ones, I was still able to get nice, crisp individual images from. And you'll still be able to cut these out if you want and decoupage them individually. So I can't wait. So guys, get started, grab yourself some napkins, and let's get to it. Okay, so what you need is some very light tape. and a sheet of 8x11 printer paper. Okay, and then decide on what napkin you're going to be using. All right, you will figure out very quickly how large the napkin needs to be. I think the easiest way to do this is to kind of create a template. I know that this is enough to get me 2 printed pages. Okay, so I could just kind of have a system down. All right, so we go here, cut up the middle. Okay, obviously you're gonna figure out the most efficient way to do this depending on which napkins you buy. And I know I need to cut off a little, about this much off here. All right, I hope you guys are having a good day. I hope you're doing well. I hope you enjoyed this project. It's really easy to mass make a whole lot of these, and once you get some, there's, you know, some semantics that go into this. It can be a little bit of a headache with the tape, but once you figure out how to do this, what works with your printer, the kind of napkins you like, depending on what projects you want to do, you're gonna love this. Okay. The other thing I should mention is these napkins, it depends on how many plies you have. Okay, some of these napkins you can take a piece of tape if you want and easily rip off a ply. Okay, I've printed on tissue paper before, and I can tell you that thinner things are easier to really lay flat and flush with the paper. So feel free to rip off some of the plies. Your napkins will go further that way anyways, and they may be easier to print on. I haven't really done that. I've pretty much just been using the whole napkin in its entirety. It's certainly still thin enough that it should be pretty easy to decoupage with. Okay, and then I know that this is a little too long for the paper, so I've been cutting off a little bit. And if you're doing this for the first time, you'll want to hold your napkin up against the paper. And what I would recommend is making a template and then mass cutting down several napkins at a time, so you don't have to keep measuring. But you see how I did that, and I knew exactly how large the napkin could be. And that brings me to my next point. Okay, so when we're doing this, a couple of things. You want your napkin to sit very flush against the copy paper, or else it's going to get jammed, and it's a pain. No matter how well you do this, your napkin is probably going to get jammed at some point. You open your printer and pull it out as a single unit. If it gets stuck, don't try to pry the napkin off the paper. You just want to pull it out, okay? I've noticed it's better to print. Do you see the creases? When I was printing it like this, I had a lot of there wouldn't be any ink on the crease. And let me I want to show you what I'm talking about. I have very specific napkins in mind, and I may as well just show you now. I think I've made all the mistakes that you can possibly make. So when you print with the creases up, this is what you get. And it's okay, like you can still decoupage this, it still looks nice. But when you print with the creases up, it's not truly flush with the page, and a lot of times you're going to get white space there instead of ink. Okay, now this isn't foolproof. Let me show you another example. Again, creases up. Here, you're not going to get any ink there. So I found it's much easier if you print with the creases the other way. Okay, you see how it kind of just lifts up off the paper? It's much easier to get ink on the entire napkin if you print this way. Okay, we want to fold it flush. Okay, we're going to be using the same piece of printer paper a few times. You do want to be careful. Over time, you're going to get tape in different places. You're going to get folding of the copy paper. And that's when you want to retire the copy paper and put down a new piece of paper. Maybe just take it for scraps, whatever you want. When you're taping this down, you need to make sure the edges of the napkin are really flush with the paper. Initially, when I was doing this, I was putting tape down and folding it over the paper, and I found that the napkin would, it seems more frequent that it gets stuck in the printer. I would recommend not doing that. You don't want to leave any tape folded over. You want to keep it all contained in the page. So that's why when you see here, I have white space, white space, white space, white space. Now, depending on your printer settings, more often than not, you'll have to shrink the image down a little bit, and it'll print so that the top of the image prints here. You may be in a situation where if you leave any white space at all, you're going to lose the top half of your image, or the top little part of your image rather. That's okay. But it is hard to, like I said, I don't want tape overhanging, and so you kind of have to give that up. So you can try, if you're insistent on getting the top of your image, you can try doing this, pushing it all the way up and folding over. I kind of recommend against that. It just seems like it was getting stuck much more frequently, and putting it down, leaving some white space. Now you do have to realize you're going to have to be careful, because when this comes out of your printer, there is going to be ink on the tape, and you just need to be careful about not touching it and spreading it all over the napkin, because it will smear. Obviously it's going to smear from the tape. So you want little pieces. Okay, and I like putting the tape over the crease to really keep it nice and flush with the page. In general, I also think these do better if you take tape and put them over the edge of the napkin, and instead of folding it over, you can just cut the tape right off, and I think that works really well. So I am going to have a few pieces of tape. Again, make it flush. You don't want any ripples. If you accidentally tape it so it's kind of lifted off the page, that's when you run into trouble and your printer gets jammed. In general, just apply the tape to right where the creases are, and you'll be much better off. And you'll get into a system where this moves much faster, and while you're printing one, you're putting a napkin down on the other piece of copy paper, and so on and so forth. I'm telling you, it does move fast. So get it flush, put it down. Or you may say, oh my gosh, this is a whole lot of trouble. I'd rather just pay $1, $2 for a napkin. I don't think so though. I think once you do this, you'll realize this is so much easier. I've actually, just another project idea, I've done this exact same thing with tissue paper. I found that it works even better because it's really thin. It prints very well on the tissue paper, and you can use tissue paper for decoupage as well. I've actually printed on a lot of tissue paper to make coasters. I got the ceramic coasters and glued and Mod Podged over the coaster, put the printed tissue paper down, Mod Podged over it again, and then when it was dry, I took a sanding block and went all around it and cleaned up the edges of the paper. They were fantastic. Maybe we'll do that project one day. Okay, so we have our paper. Now I'm going to show you what the image should look like on the computer and how you're going to put this in your printer. Okay, so I hope you can see this. I realize I'm showing you a picture of a screenshot of a screen, but what you want to do is you're going to print like this. I'll show you how to put it in your printer. These are individual images I want on one napkin. Okay. Consider if you have a napkin that is filling the entire page, you'll obviously want to do this differently. When you print, you'll get a preview. You can downsize it. You'll see scale, custom. You can change the scale here. This says 100%. Just realize, just because, let me show you what happens. We scale it down. We're gonna type 50 in here, okay? So this is gonna change your print preview. So now you have this in the top screen, okay? You should realize this, even though this scales it down, it's still gonna show up in the top corner here. It's not going to print in the center. So scaling it down, it's all fine and good if you have a smaller napkin like this, okay? But you still need to have this front and center here in the top, or else if you put your napkin here in the dead center, you're only gonna get a small part of the image. Does that make sense? So you can scale it down all you want. It's not gonna print in the middle of the page. It's gonna print upper right hand corner always. So if you have a smaller napkin, you've scaled your image down accordingly, and you will have to guesstimate with this. You will have to, it is a little bit of trial and error. That's okay, you'll get it down pat really quickly. But you do need to get your napkin there in the top, I keep saying right hand, top left hand corner. That's how this is going to print. Okay, so I have my piece of paper here, napkin here. Okay, I'm opening up my printer, and what you want to do is print with your napkin face down. Okay, napkin here, napkin is going to face down, printer paper is going up. You're going to feed this in, be very careful, you don't scrunch it, and you're going to do this one paper at a time. All right, I'm closing the door, and then I'm going to go over to my printer, print, and let's see what we get. Okay, it's printing. Everybody cross your fingers. You might hear some odd sounds. It does sound a little scary. That's probably the tape, like up against something. Okay, and you just want to keep an eye on it. Okay, once it clears that top rung, you should be okay. If it makes it past this top edge here, it's gonna be just fine. There we go. So let's see what we got. Okay, so as you'll see here, okay, so be careful, that's the ink I was talking about on the tape, okay? I actually sometimes like the way it looks like with that little piece of tape there, because you're gonna take it off and it just makes it look a little bit more distressed. Okay, this isn't perfect. The first thing I notice is there's a little line here where it didn't print, which is weird because that's not where any of the napkin creases were. So I'm not really sure why that happened. Otherwise, I think the image is really good. I actually managed to get all of the images onto the napkin by kind of moving this paper down a little bit. That works. You'll notice that I had a little bit of trouble. The paper here is frayed already. I typically like using, you know, each piece of paper a few times. Maybe like you'll get 3 or 4 prints out of a single copy paper. I would not put this back through the printer. Not with it being frayed like this. I think if you were to try and use this piece of paper again, it would definitely choke. And you'll have to pull it out and start all over again. So that's kind of what I'm noticing. I'm not sure why it frayed. It typically doesn't. Maybe the tape is too close to the edge. Maybe it's just how I put it in the printer. Some things you can't quite explain. But nevertheless, I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. And of course, we can use this paper for scraps, you know, for other projects. So it's not all lost. Okay, let's pry it off. Okay, so remember what I told you. Just be careful. The ink that is on the tape will absolutely smudge. Okay, so before I was kind of ripping the tape off, and then I realized very quickly that it ripped the paper such that you couldn't really use the paper again. And like I said, I was trying to like get by with using it at least 3 or maybe 3 times. So just be very careful. Just slip the scissor underneath the napkin and cut along the edge, and that'll release it from the tape. Okay, see that? And we'll do the same thing all around, all around. All around. Okay. Sometimes you may have to pry the tape off, but just be careful. And I'm just cutting all around. Cutting all around. I'm telling you, it looks like a lot. Once you get in the system, into the swing of things, know exactly how the printer paper needs to go in, how exactly small you need to cut your napkin down, if at all, how to position your napkin on the paper. I'm telling you, it goes pretty quick, and you'll never pay $2 or $3 for a single napkin ever again. I'm telling you, trust me on this. Okay, so we have our images here, and you'll want to peel the tape off. So this is where placement, maybe shrinking your image down, comes into play if you don't want part of your image being squandered like that, see? There's really no way around it. However, I think it kind of looks cool. It looks a little bit more distressed. It does, I think it does. So we're gonna pry our tape off. No big deal, it's easy to pry it off, just, you know, you may just want to consider, I don't know that I would put down any less tape, because I'm telling you, you'll figure out quickly if any of the edges are sticking up, it's your printer's gonna eat it. So you just have to be aware of where your tape is and be okay with losing a little bit of your image. And here we are. Oh, we have one piece of tape left. So not bad, right? You have a couple little blips where the image just doesn't reach because of the tape. I kind of thought about, what if we were to take a glue stick and glue the napkin down and not even mess around with the tape? If you have a napkin that is a couple of plies, maybe you could rip it off and get one ply that would stick to the paper, and the other plies you'd be able to peel off to decoupage. I wasn't brave enough to do that, and these guest towels that I've been printing on that are a little sturdier, I don't think you could do that. I think it's a single thing. Like, I did try and peel off another layer, and I couldn't. I bet you could with these though, but these are already pretty thin. I don't know, so play around with it. I did just want to show you how easy it is to cut around these images. So if you print different images on the napkin itself and want to cut them out individually and not decoupage the whole thing, especially if you get a thicker kind of napkin, or like these guest towels I got, I'm telling you, it is extremely easy to cut around these to separate, so you don't have to print an entire collage page. They cut out really, really nice. Okay, so had this paper not been frayed around the edges, I would do the exact same thing. You can have little pieces of tape that are still on the paper. That's totally fine. don't bother ripping them off, because if you do, you'll most likely tear the paper and that will be it. Because these are frayed, I'm going to use a different piece of paper for my next go round. Like I said, I don't really know why these got so frayed. In general, you should be able to use this for about, you know, 2, 3, maybe 4 uses. You can even alternate flipping it back over and putting the napkin on this side. And then of course, if you put the napkin on this side, then you would want to put it in your printer like this. So guys, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. I want to scan through real quick and just show you some of the images I printed to hopefully give you an idea, maybe some inspiration as to things that you may want to print. Really anything that you would want to decoupage. Like, how beautiful is this? I did this on a thinner napkin, and I don't know, I think this would be beautiful on a cover. Remember, you don't have to decoupage over just plain white. You can decoupage over anything. Like, I actually think like this may look gorgeous on brown paper bag. Totally up to you. You can make covers with these. You can make page layouts. You can make tags. Remember, so this is what I was talking about with the creases. In hindsight, I should have printed it like this. That's okay. See, this actually folded over while I was printing it, and so I have a girl up in the top corner here. So actually what I might do is take this and just decoupage this up against the, let's say this is a tag, pretend it's a tag, and I'll just decoupage, I'll create some kind of background and decoupage her up in the corner or something to kind of give it like some depth. You know what I'm saying. This is just a nice collage piece. Nice collage piece. Just gonna zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this better. And I think, why don't we do a video where I show you guys some project ideas. I think that might be really cool. I did some spooky stuff. These would look amazing on tags, anything that's like sized down. But you can make these mixed media. You know, it doesn't have to be, you could work this into a whole separate scene, okay? And even if you had a dud like I did, just roll with it, right? Like, I mean, I don't hate this. Like, okay, I have a dictionary page with a splash of color that wasn't meant to be there. Obviously, this got caught on the cartridge and it left a big splotch of ink, but hey, you know, they're not going to be perfect, but that's okay. I didn't pay $2 per napkin, and I got some really cool things that I could decoupage with, and even the imperfections I think look really cool. And so you know, these are awesome, honestly. I think the imperfections, especially with the creases, which, like I said, if I would have printed on the other side and smoothed the creases out a little bit better, I think I would have, you know, I wouldn't have these lines here, but kind of makes it look more weathered and distressed, and so that's okay. Oh, these guest towels are amazing. The images turned out so crisp because they're a little bit more sturdy. So consider this, if, you know, the napkins, the blank napkins and towels, they're so cheap, just buy a couple of different ones to kind of experiment what it looks like. But these are sturdy enough that like the words are perfectly crisp. You can't tell me that this looks any different than a napkin you buy for $2. I printed a ton of these. I'll probably just collage this and, you know, take little blips of these words and collage them on different tags. I love the color. Yeah, I mean, you can get free, just Google free dictionary pages, and you can print dictionary pages on these. I think the cream looks so nice. You'll get images. You don't have to pay for digital images. You can, there are plenty of image sites where you can get, or websites where you can get free printables. And yeah, so now I have a ton of beautiful images to Decoupage, and I guarantee you I probably paid between the cost of the napkins and the printer pages themselves, I guarantee you I paid less than $5 for all these, whereas I would have paid $5 for probably 4 of these plus shipping. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, this tutorial. I hope you found this helpful. If you think of any other semantics or details that I forgot in terms of printing these out on paper, you know, considerations before you put it in your printer, please just drop me a comment below. I will address it. If you come up with any other questions or hiccups along the way, solutions to those, please feel free to share as well. I think the other viewers will really appreciate that. And I guess next week in an upcoming video, we will be just doling out some project ideas, decoupaging our hearts away, so be sure to tune into that. As always, thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this and found value in this, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I can't wait to see you the next time.